Om Sarvadharmastapakastam Sarvadharmaswarupakah Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. We are studying the fifth part of Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master, called the Master in Divine Mood and Narendranath. And today we have to read the third section of the first chapter. First chapter is about Sri Ramakrishna's influence on the Brahma Samaj. In the first section, influence in general was described point by point. In the second section, Master taking part in Mani Mallik's house in a Brahmo festival. Now in the third section, the Master in Jai Gopal Sen's house, another Brahmo festival. It was not only we who were besides ourselves with joy and saw wonderful new light in the spiritual world. When we observed the Master's ecstasy and his enjoyment of bliss during the kirtan in the house of Mani Mohan of Sindhuryapati. Enjoyment, we should become habituated now. Joy. But our esteemed friend Varda Sundar felt similarly and kept on inquiring when and where the Master would come again to confer that kind of bliss, to distribute that bliss to others. It was not long before his efforts were successful. For 2 days later, he was searching. Within 2 days, he got another occasion. On Wednesday morning, November 28, as soon as we met him, he blurted out, Sri Ramakrishna will come to Kamal Kudre to see Keshav Babu this afternoon and go to Jayagopal Sen's house at the Matha Gasha quarter later at dusk. These are peculiar names of the Calcutta areas. Matha Gasha. You know literally what is Matha Gasha? Rubbing the head. Will you go to see him? It was known to us that Keshav was then very ill. Therefore, thinking that the presence at Kamar Kutil of strangers like us might possibly be a cause of annoyance, we decided to go at dusk to Jayagopal's house to see the Master. Festival or anything has not been described in the beginning. Master will come to Kamal Kutir and then go to Jayagopal's house. So they went to Jayagopal's house. Jayagopal Sen's house. We took Mathagasa to be a part of Bada Bazar. You have seen Bada Bazar? Huh? Bada Bazar is like a big town. That day we went traveling so many years in Bada Bazar. So we thought that Mathagasa Lane is a part of Bada Bazar. and went there first. Then, inquiring of people and pressing on and on, we reached Jayagopal's house at last, when the sun had already gone down. That day, as on the previous occasion at Manimohan's house, there was a shower of rain in the afternoon. For we remember distinctly that we made our way through mud on the road and reached our destination. Jayagopal Sen's house, like that of Manimohan, was facing west, and we remember to have entered the house turning eastward. Understood? Road facing west. So turning eastward, we enter the house from the road. As we passed the gate, we saw a person and asked him if the master had come. He received us cordially and asked us to proceed to the first floor by the southern flight of steps. And now, imagine now, east, west, east, southern, south, that extreme. Southern flight of steps and enter the spacious parlor to the east. East means backside. To the east, extending north and south. That means behind that front. Southern steps, east, north, south parlor. Spacious parlor to the east, extending north and south. Entering that hall. So hall and parlor, same thing. Parlor means a meeting hall. We saw that it was neat and clean and well furnished. There was on the floor a large mattress covered with a white cotton sheet. Details is in his mind completely. And he is describing this so that we can visualize it. Serving as the common seat for all. There was no seats arrangement, on that we had to sit. And the master was sitting on one part of it. So master also was sitting on the same carpet, surrounded by a few Brahmo devotees. We remember that the two acharyas of the new dispensation, Chiranjeev Sharma and Amrit Lal Basu, were among them. Beside Jai Gopal, the owner of the house, his brother, two or three friends of his living hard by, and one or two devotees of the master who came with him were present there. Few people. We remember also to have seen there the young devotee named the Junior Gopal, whom the master used to call Utko Gopal. Thakur himself gave Utko. Suddenly used to come and suddenly go away. So Utko Gopal. Thus, seeing only about a dozen men with the master on that occasion, we felt that that day's gathering was not meant for the public, and to come there as we had done was not quite right for us. We therefore decided that we steal away from that place a little before all were called to take their food. Welcome will not go, but it seems a private affair. Seeing them formally, they may be invited for food. But before that, we shall skip away. As soon as we entered the house, we bowed down at the holy feet of the master. How have you come here? Asked he. We replied, we had news that you would come here today, so we have come to see you. It seemed that he was pleased with that answer and asked us to sit down. We sat down and free from anxiety, that means we have been accepted now. Noticed others and listened to his illuminating talk. The master's method of teaching. Divya Guruva. Although we had had the good fortune of meeting the master for the first time only very recently, we had felt an extraordinary attraction for his ambrosial words from the very first day of our meeting. Two attractions are there. Attraction to Thakur and attraction to his words. And the words appear ambrosial, Amrit-like. Because they lift your mind up, give joy, and take it towards God. So ambrosial. Of course, we did not then understand the reason for it. We find now how unique the method of his teaching was. Now means at the time of writing. So past he remembers, analyzes and finds out. In it there was no parade of scholarship, logic chopping, nor festooning of fine phrases. Neither was there in it any attempt to cause a small idea look big with turgid words, nor as with the writers of philosophical aphorism, that means big books are not there. On the other side, very terse and like that is also not there. Nor as with the writers of philosophical aphorism, an effort to express the deepest thoughts in the fewest possible words, making them unintelligible. Big commentaries are required for sutra. We cannot say whether the master was the living embodiment of the ideas he expressed. That is the main thing. Living embodiment of the idea. A teacher brings ideas and tells people, but he is the living embodiment of those ideas. Paid any attention at all to the language he used. That is the best language. Language, as Sadhana Swami just described, is artificial, then it becomes very difficult to dig in and find the truth. But he is the living embodiment of the truth, and he speaks. So that language is most natural. We can express the truth, not hide the truth. But whoever have heard him speak, even once, have noticed how he held before them picture after picture, drawn from the materials of daily occurrence, from the things and events the audience were familiar with, in order to imprint these ideas on their minds. So describe the truth a little and give pictures after pictures. That was his idea. So technically what it is called? Upaman Praman, not Anuman or Arthapatti. And Upaman Praman, now there is a discussion between the logicians and those who use Upaman Praman. The logicians say that Upama is never exact. The other argument is that logic also can never be exact because the thing is supreme beyond logic. And suppose logic is more exact than the Upama, but it has no touch of experience. No, Upama is like the thing itself, but it has a touch of experience. That is the requirement. And so, which Upamas? Picture after picture drawn from the materials of daily occurrence, from the things and even the audience was familiar with, in order to imprint these ideas on their minds. So a touch of experience comes. The listeners also became fully freed from doubts and perfectly satisfied with the truth of his words, as if they saw them enacted before their very eyes. So that is what happens. A man of direct realization or embodiment of the ideas is speaking, first of all. And he gives you the truth and gives picture after picture. So the impression is that as if they have seen the truth. Beautiful analysis and description this. Going on to inquire how those pictures came immediately to his mind, we consider the cause of his extraordinary memory, his wonderful comprehension. That means he sees something, but he sees the inner meaning of it. And so it is imprinted in his mind. And our memory is wonderful. His keen power of observation or his uncommon presence of mind. Immediately something is picked up by the mind. But the Master always said that the Divine Mother's grace was the only cause of it. That means all these, understand this point. Analytically, he has found out the points. But Master is not deliberately using these points. From inside, that is Mother, automatically these things are coming. That is what the man of experience does. A scholar will have to collect ideas and make them in words. But the man of experience is just talking out of his experience. So automatically the ideas will come to him. Pictures. He calls it Mother. He used to say, Mother sits in the heart of him who depends entirely on her. So if small I is gone, then this happens. Then Mother is in his heart. His reality, man's reality is God. It is covered by man's small I. If the small I is not there, then the reality shines. Mother sits in the heart of him who depends entirely on her and makes him say whatever he has to say by showing it to him through unmistakable signs. So she as if supplies these incidents and it is unmistakable time, not vague. Mother always keeps his mind filled with a mass of knowledge, which she continues supplying from her never-failing store of wisdom. He speaks and more matter comes in his mind. He is not aware what he will be speaking next because there is no deliberation. Whenever it appears to run short, that means he is speaking over, another idea comes there. Thus it is that it never gets exhausted, however much he may spend from it. Going to explain this fact, one day he mentioned the following event, one event example. Know what we have to do? What we have to do? I will tell you something in relation to your Advaita. You know the tradition here, now I do not know. Long-standing tradition was that the editor works for 2.5 years. You know that? It is still preserved tradition. Why? That is, ideas will get exhausted. That is the reason. Now, when revered Swami Pavitranandaji was made the editor, he went to Mahapuruji and asked him that, I have been made the editor, now how shall I be successful? But Mahapurush Maharaj told him, you increase your meditation and you will never fall short of ideas. You understand it? So the more we go nearer God, the ideas will come. The deeper we go, the more ideas we get. Now this you may not find in books. Perhaps in Shivananda's Prasanga it might be there. But when Jivan Vikas Marathi magazine was to be started from Nagpur, Pavitranji had come to Nagpur. And the future editor asked him, and he narrated this event there. I have heard it from the first editor of Jivan Vikas, Swami Shivatatmananji. So, in Nagpur, that is not the tradition. I don't know about other languages. The first editor was editor for 20 years. 77, 57, yes, 20 years. Next editor was up to 90. So 18 years. 77 to 90, 13 years. Like that. So that is how we have to derive from here. Now Master is telling a keyword. There is a government magazine. What is magazine? Ordnance factory. Other name is ordnance factory, where the military, these fire arms and Galabarud is prepared. That is called magazine. There is a government magazine to the north of Kali temple at Dakshineshwar. Some Sikh soldiers lived there for keeping watch over it. All of them were very much devoted to the master. And sometimes they would take him to their, no, direct, indirect tense. Because Thakur is telling this and using the word master there. So the tense has been adopted. In Bengali origin, quotation marks are not there. So Thakur has told them, but they are describing that narrative to us. So every now and then we find some mistake. The quotation mark should not be. It is not Thakur's language. How other will say master? All of them were very much devoted to the master, and sometimes they would take him to their lodgings and have various religious doubts cleared by him. 6, remember. The master said, one day they put the question, how should a man live in the world so that he may realize God? Common question for our householders. First thing is that he should want to realize God. And what I immediately saw was a picture of a husking machine before my eyes. These days, is there husking machine? What is husking? From paddy to take out rice. So they husk it. A picture of husking machine before my eyes. Paddy was being husked, and one person was very carefully pushing the paddy into the hole where the husking pedal was falling. As soon as I saw it, I knew that mother was explaining to me that one should live in the world as cautiously as that. Just as the person who sits near the hole and pushes up the paddy is always careful that the pedal does not fall on his hand. Asking machine, huh? It goes on like that, like that, like that. So, a man engaged in worldly activities should always beware that he does not get entangled in them, being conscious that the worldly affairs were not his. That is the only way. Anasakti means detach yourself. It is not mine. Call it God's. It is only then that he can escape bondage without being hurt and destroyed. As soon as I saw the picture of the husking machine, mother produced this idea in my mind, and it was this that I told them. They also became highly pleased to hear it. Such pictures come before me when I talk to people. So pictures come from within. He has observed, he has keenly observed. He has observed this also how he pushes. And that he used for this purpose. Another peculiar characteristic of his method of teaching. So first part is tell the truth, bring pictures. Then Another peculiar characteristic that was observed in the master's method of teaching was that he never confused the mind of his hearer by speaking unnecessary words. Beating about the bush is never there. Directly what he wants to tell, he will tell. He discerned aright the subject and the aim of the inquirer's question and answer. That is another thing. My teachers told me that the answerer does not reply to the question asked. He replies to the questioner's mind. Understood? Mundaka Upanishad we are reading. There Shaunaka asks, knowing what, everything becomes known. And he says knowledge is of two types. He is not telling that because the method of knowledge is different, then that by that you will know this. So he understood the mind of the that he has felt there is a common reality, but he does not know how to know it. So first of all, how to know will be told, then that answer will be told. So in all the scriptures you will find this. Otherwise in examination these days objective, ABCD which is correct. In spiritual life, questions are never answered like that. So the answer should be to the questioner's mind. That should get solved. So, and the way the question is asked, from that it is judged what is his mind. Nachiketa asked Yamaraj, when a man dies, some people say something is there, some people say everything is over. I want to know from you. And Yamaraj started talking of the nature of Brahman. He discerned aright the subject and the aim of the inquirer's question. What context, what topic he is asking, and what is in his mind. And answered it in a few homely sentences, giving the conclusion, sentences giving the conclusion. Direct answer. And by way of illustration, drawing pictures before him in the opposite manner. So before picture, what he did, that is being described now. We call this the special characteristics of his method of teaching, the statement of the conclusion. In scriptural language, what is this, you know? Siddhanta Vakya. Till the conclusion first. Then supported by arguments or supported by pictures. For he used to state as answer only that which he knew as true in his heart of heart. So that is not buddhi. It is experience or realization. He would not say in so many words that no other solution of that problem was possible. Nevertheless, that impression would be firmly created in the mind of the hearer. No ambiguity. Because of his deep-seated conviction and the stress he used to lay on the expressions. If on account of past education and impressions, any hearer brought forward contrary reasons and arguments and would not accept his conclusions, which he knew by sadhana as true, he would wind up the topic saying, I have said whatever came in my mind. Take as much as or as little as you like. No argumentation. Argument does not prove anything because the receiver's mind is on a particular level and arguments are different on different levels. A child's arguments are very different. No, it has been translated as much or as little as if you like. But Thakur's words in given in bracket are literally translated, except accept it minus the head and tail. Thus he would never harm or destroy the spiritual attitude of the hearer by interfering with his liberty. Told the truth. Now it is your freedom how much you can accept. Did you think that the hearer could not accept the true solution of the subject under discussion till he had reached a higher mental state by the will of God? It seems so. So he has put a question and answered himself. So he will take something, gradually he will evolve and then come to that answer. Again, he did not stop there, but reinforced his talk interspersed with song that we have seen, that carries the impression deeply. Composed by well-known sadhakas and sometimes quoted examples from the scriptures, Rishi's experiences. That used to remove the doubts of the inquirer who, firmly convinced of the truth of the solution, would readily engage himself in guiding his life. That should change the life. So there is no intellectual question and answer, life-changing. The master's annoyance at the flow of words not backed by realization. We just lecture, he would not like it. It is necessary to say one word more here. The master told us again and again that the aspirant arrives at the non-dual knowledge by realizing his identity with the object of his worship at his journey's end. Whether he treads the path of devotion or of knowledge. What is the difference? Saradananda Swami has described it already. That the man of knowledge knows the aim correctly. The man of devotion does not know. But the more he grows, the more he becomes clearer of his idea. But both of them are going to same goal, Advaita. And Thakur knows that. As proofs of this may be quoted his sayings such as, pure devotion and pure knowledge are the same thing. Now this we have to discuss. What is pure devotion? What is pure knowledge? The words are different. Knowledge and devotion words are different. By the addition of the word adjective pure, we infer that there is impure knowledge also, impure devotion also, and they are not same. So pure knowledge and pure devotion are same. So you have to understand, okay. Now what is knowledge? In knowledge, analysis is made. And you may say the intellect plays more part. And what do we get? We observe that the world is transitory. We come to the conclusion that the world is unreal. And why it appears real? There is a reality at the back. This is the path of knowledge. Now, if you know only the reality at the back, or transcendent nature of the reality, that is half knowledge. Or you may say impure knowledge. Then you understand that the reality at the back itself appears as this world. Now that is full knowledge, and that is the pure knowledge. Now devotion. Devotion depends more on the heart. And it does not think whether the world is real or unreal. A man is attracted to God. He does not have to prove God. You know that in the Bhakti Shastras it is said that For him, God is self-proved. It does not require other proof. What is his proof? I feel attraction for God, so God is there. You understood? If there was no God, how should I feel attraction? So he loves God and is not mindful about the world being real or unreal. Now he realizes God is ideal. But all this is impure bhakti. That means world also is mixed with God. Now when he realizes God, he understands that the world is not there. It is an appearance of that very God. So now is it pure devotion? And now both are same or not? In other words, you may say, knowledge proceeds from transcendence and then comes to immanence. Bhakti proceeds from immanence and reaches transcendence. The transcendent and immanent are not two separate entities. When God is all-pervading, then only He is transcendent. And real all-pervasiveness means implies that transcendence. Okay? So because the words are two, an adjective pure is added, and Thakur tells pure knowledge and pure devotion is one, this is what we have thought of. Now in that state, when he has reached, there in the ultimate state, all jackals howl alike. Why the example of jackals? Man's swaras are different, volumes are different, but jackals same voice. You have heard the call of jackals? Yeah, in Belur Math? No. In Belur Math we used to hear in the night sometimes. One jackal calls, then all jackals call, and same voice. Anyway, so that is the thing well known to people in those days, and Thakur is using that. That means you have to penetrate their language and understand that they are telling the same thing. Appearance may be different. All men of knowledge speak of the same realization, and so on. Thus, although he was of the opinion that Advaita knowledge was the ultimate truth, he always taught the general public, with its hankering for worldly objects, the truth of qualified monism. They hanker after the objects of the world. They can never catch Advaita. And if they intellectually catch Advaita, it will be hypocritical like. Now, Vishishta Advaita is nearer to Advaita. And there these worldly people can catch, not gross dualism. The truth of qualified monism and not unoften of the love of God after the manner of dualism. That means to begin, see this dualism is called the lowest step. Dualism is much higher than our common life. That you understand? A common man has no idea of God. A common man may believe in God but not related with Him. A dualist holds God, may be separate from Him, but supreme object of love and adoration. So he is much higher than the common run of man. Much, much higher. Now the love grows. And as the love grows, he feels that he is a part of God. So it becomes non-dualism. And worldly people cannot rise after that. What is the difference there? Between a householder or a worldly man and the monastic, what is the difference? The householder, the married man, can never become free from the subject-object relation. And so he applies that to God also. Now let him do that. When the love will grow still further, he will get merged in God. And the monastic has no idea of subject and object to begin with. He can feel himself as zero. When a subject and object is there, I'm not going detail into that now, he can feel himself zero or he can feel himself. I will tell you an example. One girl doing PhD in philosophy had come with her father. There's some problems, so they came to Nagpur ashram. And after a few days, she is telling her father, I observed one thing in these sadhus. Everyone is self-dependent, independent of the other people. That is sadhu. A householder feels he is half or fraction. I don't want to tell another incident. Anyway, I'll tell. One devotee in Pune, the right-hand man of Bhavanand, he used to speak on Tithi Pujas and all that, householder. He asked this difference. So I asked him, you come and stay with us for 3 days. Then I will answer. Then my job is there. You come on Friday, you go to job from here, but stay here. Who will wash my clothes? Your wife will come and take your clothes to home, wash and bring it back. But you stay with us. A room within the monk quarters. Next day he is telling, I cannot stay alone, I cannot stay alone, I will go back. You are not alone here. Understood the difference? The man feels he is half or a fraction. So, let him hear the Vishishtadvaita and quite frequently Dvaita also because he is a beginner. And if he is a developed person, Vishishtadvaita. Then if he can rise higher, he will reach Advaita. Example. Balram Babu was a householder, an ideal Vaishnava. What happened? Towards the end, you know that. He did not become sannyasi like us by Girva. When he was on his last bed, he did not allow his wife to enter his room. Who were serving him physically? Turiyan Swamiji and Mahapurush Maharaj. He did not feel shy of taking service from the sannyasis and not allowed his wife in his room. Though the wife throughout has been helpful to him in his spiritual journey. Understood that? Mind has become a sannyasi. Brightest example. Let me complete this story. The wife used to feel, sorry, I have helped him all throughout life. Why he does not now allow me to go? This misery, pain was there in her mind. Then she saw chariot descending on the roof. Thakur in that chariot. And Thakur took Balram Babu and chariot went. Then she was happy. That is it. Thus, although he was of the opinion that Advaita knowledge was the ultimate truth, he always taught the general public with its hankering for worldly objects the truth of qualified monism and not unoften of the love of God after the manner of dualism. Love of God, not only dualism. He used to be greatly annoyed at persons who, having no high spiritual experience, nor even love for God, would nevertheless bandy arguments in favor of non-dualism or qualified non-dualism. They are not fit for both, but they are telling. He did not hesitate often to condemn such actions of theirs with very harsh words. One day the master asked our friend Vaikuntanath Sanyal whether he had read the Panchadashi and some such books. Getting a negative reply, the master said with a sense of relief, "Good that you have not. Some boys read those books and giving themselves airs. Come here. They will not practice anything. They simply come to argue. That is a torment to me." Now, I have taken the name of Panchadashi. You have any idea? Panchadashi is the best intellectual appreciation of Vedanta. One of my teachers, with my Guruji's permission, took classes on Panchadashi. I attended that, that's why I know. Now, many people praise me very badly. In Rishikesh, some householders praised. I refused. When I was in Chennai, two of my sannyasi friends, they pressed me very badly to start classes on Panchadashi. I said, all right, I'll start. My one or two classes are on YouTube also. That those listeners have put that. So after one or two classes, that I can't proceed. I don't like this. And stop. Thakur has taken the name of Panchadashi. So I'm telling. He's not talking about Upanishads. So annoyance. The reason that led us to quote the aforesaid words is that at the eyes of Jai Gopal that day, a certain person put the question to the master, how should we live in the world to receive the grace of God? The master taught him the doctrine of qualified monism, punctuating the topic with a few songs on the universal mother. He is living in the household and he wants to think of God. A few songs of the universal mother. We give below the substance of what he said. The master taught how to realize God in worldly life. As long as man looks upon the world as mine and acts accordingly, he becomes entangled in it. Though he knows it to be transitory, mine, he meets with suffering and can find no way out, even if he wants to flee from it. Saying that, the master immediately sang, "So great is the Maya of Mahamaya that it has kept the whole world under a great delusion. Even Brahma and Vishnu are under that delusion, let alone the Jiva not knowing it as such." Understood? We need not read the Bengali, I think, because I'd say English meaning is quite clear. मनरे कृषि का जानना। अच्छा, না, ঠাকুর গাইয়াছিলেন, এমনি মহামায়ার মায়া রেখেছে কি কুহক করে, ব্রহ্মা বিষ্ণু অচৈতন্যে জীবে কি তা জানতে পারে। One therefore should associate this transitory world mentally with the divine God, that is called the other. And perform every action accordingly. My should be replaced by God's. One must hold fast his lotus feet with one hand and go on working with the other, and always remember that the persons and things of the world are his, capital H, not one's own. If one can do that, he will not have to suffer from worldly attachment. There will then arise the idea that whatever one does is the Lord's, and his mind will go forward towards him. In order to imprint it firmly in the mind of the inquirer, the master sang, "O my mind, you do not know how to till the soil of life and soul." Mandre तुम्ही कृषि का जनावी और दिसा आबाद करिले फल तो सोना. If you had cultivated properly, it would have produced rich crop, and so on. He has not quoted the full song, perhaps because they are very common songs in Bengal. The song finished, he continued, if one lives his life in the world by having recourse to God in that manner, one will gradually feel that all the persons and things of the world are his parts. That is Vishwadvaita. The aspirant then will serve the parents as he will the parents of the universe. So, माँ बाबा के ब्रह्म शक्ति रूपे. See the manifestation of the boy Gopal and of the mother of the universe in his sons and daughters. Even the daughter is seen as mother of the universe. And knowing all others to be the parts of Narayana, will behave towards them with respect and devotion. A person who lives in the world in that spiritual mood is an ideal man in the world, and the fear of death is rooted out from his mind. Such persons are rare indeed, but not altogether wanting. Afterwards, pointing out the means to reach that ideal, the master said, one should have recourse to one's discriminating intellect. So, within Bhakti is telling again and again. Discriminating intellect, that means add knowledge to that. And thereafter perform all actions. One should go away now and again from the noise of the world and engage oneself in spiritual practice in a quiet place. So, how to remain in household and realize God? He is telling all these things. If you want to know the exact things, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Master has first question, how to keep mind in God. There, all these are there. And engaging oneself in spiritual practice in a quiet place should try to realize God. Try to realize God. It is in this manner only that one can bring into practice the said ideal in one's life. Here in the footnote it says, we are intended to aim the esteemed author of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna for a part of the substance of this base conversation. So Master has presented, recorded, and he has taken from that. Pointing out the means, the master sang the famous song of Ram Prasad, "Oh my, come let us go for a walk. You will get for the mere picking of the 4 fruits under the wish-fulfilling tree Kali. Dharmartha Kamoksha, everything will get Kalipadi." Because the householder is there, he should be told Dharmartha Kam. Again, when he used the expression discriminating intellect, he would explain what was meant by it. He said that with the help of that intellect, The aspirant knows God as the one eternal substance. Underlying the fleeting appearances, the totality of sight, states, etc., they are fleeting, Chanabhangu. So unreal. God is permanent, so real. It is the Adhar of that word, which is the word, and renounce it. So renunciation has to take place, mentally at least. But when he has known God, that very intellect teaches him that the one who is the absolute has in his play as the many assumed myriads of form. So that pure devotion he has brought in the end. Assumed myriads of forms as the individual things and persons of the universe. And the aspirant is blessed at last with the realization that God is both absolute and relative. So finally reaching Nirguna itself, the bliss of Sankirtan. Then Acharya Chiranjeev began to sing with the help of his one-stringed instrument, Make Me Inebriated, O Mother. That song we had seen last time. All singing it in chorus after him. When the kirtan began, the master was in ecstasy and stood up. All the others also then stood around him and began to dance and sing. Finishing this song, Chiranjeev commenced singing, the full moon of divine love has risen in the firmament of consciousness. Dancing for a long time to the accompaniment of the song, they brought to a close that day's kirtan by bowing down to God and his devotees, all of them to the dust of the master's feet and sat down. He danced sweetly on this occasion also, but he did not have here that kind of deep ecstasy lasting for a long time which we saw at Manimohan's place, because the audience was not that high. The kirtan over, the master sat down and said to Chiranjeev, when I heard that song of yours for the first time, I saw rising such a living, large, full moon, ever so big, and would enter into ecstasy as soon as it was sung out, ever after. So for Thakur, that song is not an idea, it is realization. Jay Gopal and Chiranjeev were then talking to each other about Keshav's illness. The master, remember, told someone on that occasion that Rakhal was then unwell. We do not know whether Jayagopal was a formally initiated Brahma or not, but there is no doubt that he had great respect and reverence for Keshav Chandra, the Brahma leader, and love for the members of the Brahma circle. Keshav sometimes went to Jayagopal's garden at Belgaria near Calcutta. There, Thakur met him first. Near Calcutta, with his entire party, and spent some time in spiritual practice. It was on one such occasion that he met the master for the first time there, which led to the deepening of spirituality in Keshav's life, culminating in the blossoming of the power of the new dispensation. Jayagopal also entertained great respect for the master ever since that day. He enjoyed great bliss in religious conversation, sometimes by coming to the master at Dakshineshwar and sometimes by inviting him to his own house. For some time, Jayagopal, we were told, paid a great part of the expenses of the master's carriage hire for going to Calcutta. Great part means a fixed thing. If extra, then somebody has to pay. All the members of his family also had much respect for him, for master. When afterwards we noticed that the night was well advanced, we took leave of the master for the day and started home. The songs are given in detail. I think last time we had read them. Om Sarvadharma Stapakasvam Sarvadharma Swarupakaha Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Here we specially note Sardan Swamiji's way of description. How he has explained everything, not only narrated what Thakur.